Hello and welcome to the view from the 2019 IMF and World Bank annual meetings. I'm joined today by Carlos San Basilio, the Secretary General of the Spanish Treasury. Carlos, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Now, over the last few years, Spain's public finances have improved substantially, and there are now plans in place for further fiscal consolidation in the coming years. But against a backdrop of weaker economic growth globally, challenges at home in terms of the domestic political arena, are you confident that you can stick to these plans?
Yes, definitely we are. We are confident that we can combine in the coming years what we have done in recent years, which is a solid growth with a progressive gradual fiscal consolidation to put the debt to GDP ratio on the right track. It went as high as 100% of GDP. It's going down. We expect to bring it down to 96% this year and still going down in coming years with a budget deficit also on a decline path. But it is essential for us that we can combine this trend with a continuous solid growth to allow for employment creation in the coming years, which is a top priority of our economic policy.
You mentioned the budget deficit there. I think there is a plan in place to try and balance the books essentially by 2022. It's not too far away. And there are some pretty ambitious measures for the sort of revenue side of the books. Are you confident that they can be kept in place given some of the challenges you're facing at home in terms of the domestic political arena in Spain?
There's a political angle here that is worth mentioning, and well, we have general elections in 3 weeks' time, but we hope we can have a government with full power as soon as possible to deliver a new budget for the coming years. In the beginning of 2020, and we already know what we want to do because we already tested it in the previous budget for 2019 that was presented to the Congress and rejected and resulted in another election. And we had identified very clearly which additional revenues we were counting on, for instance, on digital taxes, on financial transaction tax. So it was an ambitious project in the sense that combined fiscal discipline with redistribution and still coping with the problems of the recent crisis in terms of equality. So we need to work on both sides. And going back to the previous question, make sure that we do it on the revenue and on the expenditure side in a way which is compatible with continuous growth.
In recent days, Spain's growth forecast was cut by the IMF just marginally for the next year or so. Where do you see the Spanish economy heading over the next 12 months, given some of the background issues we're looking at today?
What we expect is that the Spanish economy this year and next year will keep on growing around 2%. So we're expecting marginally above 2% this year, marginally below 2% next year. We're talking about decimal points here, so it's 2.1 this year, 1.8 next year, which is still above potential growth. So we are still in the expansionary stage of our cycle. But what is very relevant is that this expansionary cycle has been compatible with the correction of imbalances. So Spanish economy has been growing above our peers in Europe, and at the same time we've been correcting our main imbalances, for instance, in terms of private leverage. We have been posting surplus accounts for a series of years, which is something that had never happened in the track history of the Spanish economy. So our goal is the same as I was saying with fiscal discipline. We have to combine growth and growth this year, next year, around 2%, with a continuous correction of imbalances, which is what we have seen in recent years, which is what we think has been particularly valued by rating agencies, that has resulted, for instance, Standard & Poor's upgrading the rating for Spain very recently. And we expect that we will have more of this in the coming months as we consolidate also the political landscape back home in Spain.
Carlos, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.